Okay, this video is going to show you how to create this orthographic drawing of the big joint house in AutoCAD. This is assuming that you have watched some of the basic AutoCAD tutorial videos that were given to you on Canvas. And this is the next step from creating your cutting plan in AutoCAD. We are always going to be referencing the original drawing that was given to you. Right here, and our goal is to recreate this drawing on a layout. So we want to create the orthographic projection here, the orthographic multi-view layout, and as a bonus, the isometric layout. For right now, I'm just going to give you the basics to create this front view, and if time allows, I'll also show you how to set up for the side and top views. So let's launch AutoCAD. Bring up your big joint. Bring up your size 8 title block template and get into the model space to begin the drawing. I'm going to just draw next to this one and duplicate what we see over here. There are a couple ways of approaching this problem. You find the tools that you are most comfortable with. You can either draw polygons or you can draw lines. Whichever one works for you. It is important, though, that you use the correct measurements and you don't just simply eyeball this on the grid on the screen here. As I zoom in, that grid is going to change in perspective and size, and it's important that when I draw my objects, that they are the exact dimensions that they need to be. So let's start by drawing with lines. Now I want to start in the object visible layer. So we'll check the object viz layer. We're going to pick the line tool here, and I'm just going to start drawing a point here. And I know that this outside part is 4 inches high. So I click, I'll pull up, I'll type the number 4. Okay, I'll come across. I know that's 3/4, 0.75. I'll come back down the number 4. Now I'm going to just show you a couple of things I do here. There's a little projection I can use, or I can type in the number 4. So all I had done there was moused over that endpoint and click. And so I have my first part, and that was drawn with lines. Okay. Alternatively, I can also draw with a rectangle, and I'll show you how to do that on the other side. Let's put a 7-inch rectangle in right here, and I'll show you how to do a little bit of moving. So we're going to choose a rectangle tool. Okay, and I'm going to specify that point to be right here, and I'm going to actually pull this down. Okay, and this part is going to be 7 long. I'll hit tab and make it 0.75 tall. Okay, this drew a polygon here. It's not exactly placed properly, but it is in a general area where I can work with. Now let's actually move this polygon. So I'm going to use the move tool. Select the move tool up here. It says select my objects. Let's choose that polygon. I'll hit enter, and it says specify base point. Well, I'll use the geometric center. I could use any point on here, but I'm going to select that geometric center, and I know that this has to go straight up a distance of 3/8, which happens to be halfway up there. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but it kind of locks at the top exactly. Now I could type in the 0.375. You also see it appear on the screen out there, but we can type in 0.375, and we know we have that exact movement, or I could accept the lock. And I hit enter, and there it is. That has moved in. How do I clean this up here? This is going to be our little rabbit cut out there, and I need to trim this out of here. Very simple solution. We're going to use the trim tool, and we can trim this back. So in the modify, there's a pair of scissors. That's the trim tool. This says select the objects you want to trim. So you see, as I mouse over here, it trims out or cuts away the things that I want to cut back. So I'm going to trim those 2 lines out of there, and then I hit escape. And there's my part. So very simple way of doing it using a polygon tool. And you may find that the polygon tool is a much faster way of doing this. We can do the same thing on this side. In fact, you can use the polygon tool on this side, or if you like, you can mirror these lines right here. So let's show you how mirror works. Pretty cool tool. I'm going to take this line. I'm going to take this line. We'll take this line, and we'll take this line. We're selecting those lines. We're going to up here and modify. We're going to use the mirror command. So I select mirror. Now this is very important. To get this right, our mirror line has to be in the middle of the top point there. So My midpoint was turned on, so you see that midpoint there, that little triangle. I'm going to select there, and I'm just going to pull up. And as I pull up, you see it mirrors my part right into place. So snaps right in there. Pretty neat tool. Do I want to erase the source? No, I do not. Okay, and now I'm ready to trim this one up. So you can save and do your trim after you do your mirror there. Then you can trim both parts at the same time. So you see how that part just cleans up there. So here we are in the base of our front view. We know that we have a rectangle that has to come into this midsection. It actually starts 1 inch up from the end of this. So if I want, I can either draw it with lines or I can use the rectangle tool. And it says, hey, where's your first point? Well, my first point is going to be 1 inch up from here. So I'm going to mouse over the end and I'm going to pull up and get that extension. I know it's 1 inch from there, so I type in 1. And then I can pull out. So I'm 1 inch up. I can pull out. It says, how long is this thing? It's 5.5 long. I hit tab and not enter. And I specify my 3/4, 0.75, enter. That's one way of putting that line in there. So you can use a reference and extension to draw that. There's a lot of different ways of placing it. It is important, though, that you do properly place that line. Now, let's focus on the roof line up here. Couple things about the roof line. And CAD is a very exact tool. And because it is so exact, the measurements that you got with your 16th inch ruler aren't going to quite agree as we set things in place here. And I'll show you what that looks like. In drawing our roof line, let's start with a construction line of sorts. We're going to start in the midpoint here, and we're going to draw a line that is 3.5 up. So 3.5 up, because our part there was, remember, our part there was 7 inches. So half of 7 inches, the span is 7 inches. So to the center of that is the run. And so that is exactly middle here. Because we have a 45-degree angle that we're working with, we're going to rise 3.5. Since we come over run 3.5, we rise 3.5. And I do my outside line here. Now notice I'm not taking the approach of drawing this as a rectangle. Instead, I'm using lines here, okay? And the reason I'm doing this is I want to point out that the distance there is not exactly 5. It's 4.9497. And that has to do with precision and accuracy. So before I continue here, I'm going to pop a few things up here. We're going to pull a calculator up and just show you exactly how this works. Now, with the calculator tool here, you can see that the hypotenuse is actually 4.94974746830583. Why did I get that number? Well, if I took a squared, 3.5, so I take 3.5 and we square it, that's 12.25. A squared plus B squared, so multiply that times 2, is 24.5. And then I take the square root of that 24.5. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Let's find the square root of C squared. So the square root of that is 4.9497. We measured this to be 5 inches. Pythagorean theorem is telling us the exact numbers. CAD is working with the exact numbers. We will never be able to hold our precision to exactly these numbers here. The saw that you're working with, the materials you're working with, and the ruler you're working with is giving us a 1/16 inch precision. So one thing to keep in mind that you can't use the number 5 or 4 1/4 in CAD because it's going to have some overlap and going to create some problems for you. So just a point of clarification about that issue in the project. Now, as we continue in our drawing, let's do our offset over here. We're going to use the offset command of 3/4. So I choose offset, and it says specify my offset distance. It's going to be 0.75. And what do I want to offset? I'm going to offset this line, and I'm going to bring it down this way. Okay, I can also offset this line and bring it down this way. Okay, that draws my 2 parts for part A and part B, and now all I use is trim to trim this up. So select trim there, and you can start to cut out the parts that you don't need. Okay, just trimming these out. You are not going to use this. You're not going to use this, and we'll just delete this here in a minute. So hit escape, go ahead and take that and hit delete. Now you have your front view drawn in. I still need this part G located here. A couple ways of doing this. If you like, you can, we'll just do this with a midpoint line here. So I got my midpoint line. I'm going to come down line to line like that. I'm going to use this simply as a reference for the part that I'm going to draw here. Let's choose, let's do this one with offset as well. Since I'm going to use that as a midline, I'm going to offset this 3/8 of an inch, which is 0.375. Hit enter. What am I offsetting? I'm offsetting this guy this way, and I'll offset this guy this way. Okay. Now, it's not exact, but so I have that part there. Let's kind of clean this up a little. We still have a notch we have to put in there, and that notch lines up right here. So I need to extend this line. So I take this and I extend it out, and that extension is going to come out to this point. So see, I moused over the end there, and I got those green line projections. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I need to extend this, and I can use that as a reference, come across, mouse over, and now all I have to do is draw a line to close this. This is one of probably 5 different ways you can do this to create this. And then what do we do here? We use trim. Trim cleans that up. There's my front view. Okay. In here, I have also shown my dowel rods, and I've shown the center lines in the dowel rods. I use the hidden line layer to draw those. Okay, and I use the center lines to show my center line marks. Before I do that, though, I have to construct this rectangle out here to the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a rectangle tool here, and I'm going to mouse over the end point. I'm just going to throw this, start this, we'll say 1 inch away. So I'll type the number 1 inch away. How tall am I going? Well, first of all, it's 3/4 wide, so I type 0.75. I'll hit tab and not enter. And where am I ending? Well, I'm ending right here, and I can get that to line up. You see those green lines, those projection lines, just mouse over the tip there and line up. They exactly line up as long as they're moused up and locked up like that, or you can type in 7.875. Click that. Here I have my side view, and now all I'm going to do is project those lines that are visible and those lines that are hidden. And actually, I'm going to do everything just with the line tool, and I'll go back in and I'll move those ones that are hidden. So here, this line projects over. I didn't click anything, just moused over and pulled across, and boom, drop that in place. Okay, do the same thing out here. I want this line, which matches to this intersection right here. Pull it across, boom, line that up right in place. Hit escape. Take these lines are actually object visible lines. They're just going to pull straight across, escape, line, and again, one way of many. Pull it across, escape. Just one way of doing this. Pull it across, escape, and we'll use our line tool to get. This is actually going to be a hidden line, but we'll convert that here in a minute. Pull this across, escape. Now let's think about what's not immediately tangible, and what do we have to turn over to be hidden? Well, I have to turn over. I have to convert this line. I'm going to convert this line and these 2 lines. So I select all of them, come up here to your layers palette, and just turn them into hidden lines. And they will become dotted lines for you when you do that. Now between here, I need to show my circle. So I'm using the circle tool. Use the circle tool to show that hidden line.